A concert grand harp has 47 strings, spanning a range of nearly 7 octaves. Of all the parts of the harp, the strings are made of the most flexible material and designed to undergo the greatest motion. The action of the strings is what sets the whole instrument in vibration when played. Not only do they have to be flexible, but they are constantly under huge tension, and so they stretch out and weaken over time, eventually losing their tone quality or breaking. The most important thing any harpist needs to know about maintaining the instrument is how to replace a string. New harp strings come coiled up in little paper envelopes or plastic packages like this, and can be bought from almost any harp manufacturer or distributor. The strings come in different materials, and each and every one has a slightly different diameter, so it is important to match the appropriate string to the one you are replacing. In the very top register, the strings are usually made out of a synthetic material called nylon. The top note is a G or sol, and the top string is labeled like this. Remember that all the black strings are F or Fa, and all the red strings are Si or Do. So the next string down is labeled this. At the E or Mi, we start counting the first octave. This string is labeled. From there, we have first octave D, first octave C, and so on until we come to the second octave, which starts at the next E or Mi. Each new octave starts at E, and this continues all the way down to the bottom string, which is a seventh octave C or Do. At the second octave on the concert grand, you may want to begin stringing your harp with gut. However, some people begin stringing gut as low as the third octave, and some people use gut all the way to the top of the harp, opting out on nylon entirely. It's a personal preference that will depend on what kind of sound you prefer and what your budget is. Gut is an organic material that is pretty much, yes, guts from animals like sheep or cows. If you look carefully at a gut string, you'll see it is made of fibrous strands covered in a glossy finish. There's different kinds of gut strings, so make sure to call your harp company to discuss what kind of string is best for your harp. Starting at the fifth octave G, the rest of the strings are made out of wire. A wire string consists of an inner steel core wound with silk and then wound with tarnish-resistant steel. Okay, now it's time to actually change the string. Notice that the strings are knotted up against the back of the soundboard. Run up through little holes, go neatly between the sharp and natural discs, sit over the string nut, and wind around the tuning peg. Most of the time, you're going to be changing gut strings because those break the most frequently. It is important when handling a new gut string never to bend or crimp the string. If you do, the string will be weakened at the point where it was bent and it won't last as long. A safe and easy way to uncoil the string is like this. I like to thread the string through the soundboard before I tie the knot. It's possible to do this the other way around, but then you have to thread the string from the back of the harp, which is definitely more frustrating. Before you tie your knot, make sure to have a string end at hand. The string end is what you will tie your knot around. It can either be a wooden peg like this, or it can be a piece cut from the lowest and thickest gut strings. You can either come up with these on your own, or you can ask your harp supplier to send you some. Hold the string in both hands, with the end pointing to your right. Loop the end in front, right over left. Now hold the loop in place with your left hand, and with your right hand, twist the loop to the right. Still holding the twisted loop firmly, put the end of the string through the back of the loop. You now have the basic shape of your knot. Take the string end and put it through the loop. Pull the loop tightly, taking care of how you handle the rest of the string so you do not bend it. If you have trouble tightening the knot, it helps to grip it between two fingers right at the twist and pull. Once the string end is secured, you can pull the string back up and the knot will be further tightened as it's pressed against the soundboard. Now thread the string through the hole in the tuning peg. Once again, making sure not to crimp the string as you pull it up. Don't worry about pulling the string completely tight at this point. It's okay if it has a little bit of slack, and it's okay if it doesn't fit exactly in the mechanism. As you turn the tuning peg, the string will tighten and you can guide it into place. You should leave enough slack so that it ends up with about 2 or 3 twists around the tuning peg. With your right hand, insert your tuning key onto the appropriate tuning peg and turn it towards the column. With your left hand, make sure that the string winds neatly around the peg and in towards the harp, not crossing over itself. As it tightens, make sure that it is hooked over the string nut. You will want to have the corresponding pedal in the flat position, so that the pins are open and you can fit the string easily between them. Finish winding the string up until it has the correct pitch. Cut the rest of the string off, and if there is enough for a second string, return this part back to its package. The string will now need some time to adjust to the tension, so don't worry if the pitch goes flat very quickly. To help it stretch out, you can pull on it. But in any case, you will need to tune it a lot over the next few days. Actually, changing a string is not always this straightforward. What you just saw was a standard, typical gut string from middle register. But when you are dealing with smaller or larger strings, there's some extra things you need to know. First of all, small strings, especially nylon strings, like to slip, so you'll need to add extra security to your knots on both ends of the string. At the bottom end, you can add an extra loop or 2 to your knot around the string end. At the top end, you can loop the string around itself once as you are winding up the string. Lower down on the harp, the strings are thick enough so that you don't necessarily have to use a string end. In this case, tie the string making 2 loops instead of 1, and put the right hand loop through the back of the left hand loop before pulling it tight. Wire strings are a different story altogether. Wire strings come already secured at the bottom. What you have to know about wire strings is that they do not stretch nearly as much as the other strings, and so when you are preparing to wind them up, you have to leave them enough slack to get about 2 or 3 twists around the tuning peg. Pull the middle of the string up about an octave or an octave and a half. Bend the top of the wire over before winding. It's rare for the wire strings to break, but their sound becomes dull over time, so it's a good idea to replace all the wires once a year or once every other year depending on how much you play. The lowest gut strings may never break, and are the most expensive strings on the harp. However, they also wear out, and so they can be replaced, but at longer intervals than the wire strings. Keep an eye on wear and tear. If you see a string start to look frayed or pitted, it's only a matter of time before it goes false and breaks. So it may be a good idea to change it before it does, so that you don't risk having the string give out during a performance. For a harpist, maintaining the strings of your instrument is part of your art. So take your time discovering your style and what works best for you. Thanks for watching.